I know plenty of people, including in Cambridge, who didn't get 1, 2 or 3 of their other medical or veterinary school offers. Just because you're good enough to get one offer doesn't automatically mean that all other schools will offer you a place. When I applied, I got offers from all 4 of the medical schools that I applied to, and those were Cambridge, Imperial, Glasgow and Birmingham. And in this video, I'll explain how you can do it too, and the main pitfalls to avoid in your application. So I've split it into 5 main tips, and I'm going to go through all of those now. Okay, so first of all, it's important to realise that all of the medical and veterinary schools are different, and they're looking for different things from each of their applicants. So for example, in Cambridge, they're a lot more focused on your grades and your academic interests, whereas in other medical schools, they're a lot more focused on your interpersonal skills. In terms of veterinary schools, I know that some of them are a lot more focused on the work experience that you've done and the duration of this. They can have quite strict requirements, whereas I know in Cambridge, they're a lot more focused on grades, and they'll often take students who don't have as much work experience and would have been rejected elsewhere. But ultimately, it's important to recognise that all of the schools are different and they're looking for different things. It's important to tailor your application to these and to treat each application differently. Different things in the application timeline will need to be prioritised more than others. So for example, for some you might need to prioritise the work experience, for others you might need to prioritise the interviews, and for others you'll need to prioritise the grades. Okay, so point number 2 is don't apply to places where you're very likely to get outright rejected. And I know this can be really tough to hear if you've got your heart set on a certain school. So for example, if there's a school that has an entry requirement of A star AA and you've been predicted AAA, it's really unlikely that they're going to give you an offer. Similarly, if you have a low UCAT score, but you need to have a high UCAT score for one of the medical schools, it's probably also not worth applying. When I was thinking of applying to medical schools, I really wanted to apply to Edinburgh because that's where I was born. I really love the city, but I didn't do very well on my UCAT, and that was a school that at that point wanted applicants with really high scores. And so there was a really big risk I would have been outright rejected, and so I didn't apply. And looking back on it, I'm quite glad that I did that. Okay, so point number 3 is it's important to be strategic with the entrance exams. I know people who applied to 2 BMATs and 2 UCAT unis and then didn't do very well on one of the entrance exams and just got outright rejected by 2 medical schools at once. I would say that if you're very confident with one exam and you're not doing very well at the other, it might be worth just focusing on the one that you're better at and applying to 4 medical schools where you can realistically get offers from. That being said, if you do want to do both exams, I would just be a bit more strategic with when I'm deciding to do the revision and sit each exam, just to make sure that you have enough time to revise properly for each exam and that you have enough rest time so you don't burn out during this period. Ultimately, you're trying to maximise your mark for these exams so that you can then get an interview offer. Also, if you already know your mark on the exams like you do with the UCAT, I would say it's important to apply to medical schools strategically based on that. I have a whole video dedicated to that because applying strategically based on UCAT score was so important during my application because I didn't do as well on my UCAT as I'd hoped. So do check that out if you're struggling. So really don't at me for this one, but it's also worth applying to less competitive medical schools. Hear me out. All medical schools are difficult to get into, and it is a huge achievement to get an offer from any medical school. That being said though, some medical schools are more difficult to get offers from than others. So for example, for Cambridge, the competition ratios are a bit lower. Because you need A star, A, there will be fewer people who can apply, and so you would have already weeded out quite a lot of applicants. Also, some medical schools will give a lot more offers than they have places, and so you don't actually need to rank as highly in the applicant pool to still get an offer. So for example, when I applied to Birmingham, they gave out 800 offers based on their interviews. And I didn't actually do that well on the interview. There were a few stations that I really properly messed up at. And so I actually ranked about 700th out of the 800 people. And if this was another medical school, which only gave 300 or 400 offers, I would have been rejected. But because Birmingham gave a lot of offers, that's why I actually got one too. So the last point is just, I think it's important to understand the medical and veterinary school application timeline very well. And that's so you can be prepared for each stage and really give each stage a good go. The application process is really difficult and really long, and that starts all the way from when you decide that you want to get into medicine and you start doing your work experience and volunteering, through to doing your entrance exams and your interviews, to then doing your A-levels at the end. It's a really long process, and there are many stages which you need to do well at. The importance of each stage though varies based on the medical school and the priorities that they place on certain things in their application, like we said in point number 1. So that's worth bearing in mind. Ultimately though, it's important to understand the stages of the application process going into it and be confident at facing each of these. I can make a further step-by-step video on how to approach this though, if you guys would like. Let me know in the comments if that would be useful to you. So just to summarise, so today we talked about the main pitfalls to avoid when applying to medical schools so you can maximise getting all 4 medical school offers. So the first one was treating all of the medical schools differently and acknowledging that they have different priorities in their applicants. The second thing was avoiding outright rejections. The third one was being strategic with your entrance exams. The fourth one was applying to less competitive medical schools. And the fifth one was understanding the medical school application timeline well. I hope you guys found the video useful, and I wish you all the best of luck for your applications. Keep me updated on how everything's going in the comment section below. I'll see you guys later.